as I come out of the store to my vehicle. Got a black helicopter. I'll get him on video here, see? Direct overhead. He made a turn off. He was over here. See if I can get my finger in the shot. Over here. And he goes for a direct overhead military. And turns. Oh look, see? Am I imagining things or what? Check it out. Check it out, friends. Let's see if we can get a... See that, friends? He's not going to go for another circle around. He figured out he was in the shot. Yeah, that's definitely a stalk. Look at how low he is, right over the freeway.
Reptilians.
The reptilians.
The reptilians.
The reptilians. The reptilians.
Reptiles.
They're ugly looking lizard, alligator type people.
This will be like the Draco's last play because they have other slave colonies that's out there on Mars and other places throughout the galaxy where they are building a human society, a slave society.
And Dulce Base is one of the most notorious bases in the world because of the human carnage that takes place there, and because of the fact that we have apparently lost control of it to hostile aliens, reptilians. And reptilians there's nothing good about them. And they are running the show here. No matter what anyone tells you about friendly aliens going to help us advance and transcend the next level, it's bullshit.
Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
All right, friends, we got a major military vehicle stalk, and I think I know why. Didn't think old Uncle Rich didn't know what's going on? Hell yeah. Well, that sucker was right over the freeway, right over here. Ooh, they got a fire of something. Look, a bunch of smoke right there. Uh-oh. Something burned again. Yeah, so, I don't know about you guys, but I have an experience every now and again of running into somebody and you talk with them for a bit and you see how ungodly and rebellious they are. Even people that claim to have some kind of spirituality, and they want to be spiritual, actually. I think that they're sincere in the desire for something spiritual, but they hate and attack and certainly neglect the one aspect of spirituality that means the most: acknowledgement of the real God, the God of the Jews. Yeah, I know, it's hard to believe, right? Because we have a little problem, all right? Trust me, I'm aware of it. I've done some reading, done some research. But like I've been explaining here, you got high potential, and there's an experience of good and evil. You're going to have high potential for evil. And so, the more potential for good, the more potential for evil. Hence, in Jeremiah, God tells us about the naughty figs. So naughty, they can't be eaten by the reptilians. I think that's something I said to the master monk, the great elder master monk, who gave his life for the angel. Yeah. You know, what's amazing, guys, is that you have all these monks, okay, that knew and respected this guy who was the master monk of this huge monastery that he rebuilt himself in his youth from a dream that he got from the Lord. And all these guys don't know how he died. They don't know where he went. They don't know what happened. And I do. So I'll tell any of you monks that might be listening exactly how he died. Just, you know, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. So he gave his life for the angel Anna, okay, who was a very special person and whom I loved. And he gave his life for her. Now, in the end, unfortunately, it wasn't enough. But he and even another angel, get this, okay? It's a little bit hard to wrap your head around here, I know. But when she was in the forest and her body was like glowing because of all the energy that she was outputting, and there was this huge storm that the master monk was himself creating around her to defend her, because there were all these demons and witches and stuff trying to get her, and she was out of her body. Okay, but at one point, I don't know how it happened, whether she asked him to do it or whether he offered or how it happened, but he decided to actually physically lay down on her body and dissolve himself into her, and that's what happened. And it went slowly, 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 and according to the report I got, he was smiling while he was doing it. He was smiling. He was joyful as he was dissolving his body and his essence into her. But and then also another one of the angels, we called him Seraphim. He was the gentleman with the beard. You guys, if any of y'all at the temple are listening to this, he was the guy with the beard who walked around barefoot. Anyway, he was another kind of angel. He could create these fireballs and stuff, like you see in, whatever, Dragon Ball Z or Street Fighter, these movies where these people have these powers. These legends are based on something real, okay? And I know a lot of people know about that. These guys get so mad when people don't get out of their way. Look at this guy. He's wait, let's see if we can get him. I don't even pay attention to him. Yeah, so this stuff is based on real stuff. I mean, these, because her eyes were glowing and she was rising above the air and talking with this thundering voice of God and stuff, and all these monks were freaking out and everything. So in case any of y'all monks were wondering what happened to Master Ampochat, okay, he dissolved himself into the angel Anna, okay, but in the end, what happened was, when Azrael, who was also sharing her body, he had been imprisoned by her, as best I could figure it out. I didn't hear exactly what happened, but he was in her body, not as a demon. This guy's a full-scale entity, okay? 50-foot tall, huge, muscular, blonde man, long blonde hair, angel, okay? Angel of destruction, in charge of destruction of the world after each age, so that the new age that comes after that thinks it's we're the fresh new world, because you can't have all the technology and baggage and history and stuff of the last age that would interfere with the experiences that are required for the new age. So God sends this angel to destroy everything. So I talked to this guy in depth, but he had a lot of powers, and it turns out that a lot of the powers that Anna had were because he was in her body. And so when he left, because of her awakening and her going out and searching the cosmos and everything, at some point all the injuries that she had healed that were major, okay, 3rd-degree burns, broken spines, arms that were almost torn off, diseases, a little girl that was killed, she brought back to life, all that stuff that she had healed suddenly came back on her at once, and she was like a charred corpse instantly when Azrael left her body. So that's why she died, despite the fact that Master Monk Ampochat gave his life, and also Seraphim did the same thing. I guess got on top of her physically and dissolved himself into her glowing, fiery body. But in the end, ultimately, it wasn't enough to save her, because the pulling out of Azrael out of her body somehow caused, I guess she had stored the injury information in her body, and it suddenly all came back, and that's why she died in October of 2020. But just so you know, her spirit was still alive, and she got into the body of one of the people that she made and gave me a phone call. Yeah. Pretty interesting. It was hard. It was hard for her actually, though, because when your spirit body and the physical body don't match, it creates a very serious problem. And so she had a headache, and she was really feeling bad, so she couldn't talk to me for too long. But she let me know that she was alive. I even got to ask her why she died. Unfortunately, she couldn't tell me. She says, "I don't know." But it was good to hear her voice again, the real Anna. But yeah, friends, we got to remind each other that we're very lucky that we know God, the correct name of God, the correct name of salvation with God, Jesus Christ, because there's a lot of folks that they think they know something, they think they're wise, and they don't know that Jesus Christ is Lord. Okay? Now, I told you that I have respect for Native American cultures, Native cultures in general, other cultures in general, that have traditions and things, even that may teach some things that would be counter to the teachings of God. Not to discount their positive qualities, but if those traditions of spirituality neglect the one and only real element of spiritual power, God, okay? Because if you're not acknowledging God, the real God, the correct God, the right name of the right God in your spirituality, in your religion, it's not going to amount to a whole lot. At least from my perspective. If you want something better, if you want something more, if you want blessing for your days upon the earth rather than a curse, because since the advent of Christ, God has said his wrath is on the head of every soul that doesn't have the name of Jesus Christ in his heart and in his mind. Okay, we know that. So there's only one right way in terms of acknowledging God, and that is through Jesus Christ. Because people that think that they're going to have a blessing from God, people that think that they're going to have a spiritual experience, and they're going to be spiritual about something, and they don't acknowledge God, we know, friends, we know that their dishonor will be heaped up on their head. Okay? They'll be destroyed out of hand and quickly. But I was thinking, what happens to the proud? You see, these people that they've had a life where they had honor, they had things that they did that were accomplishments, and they're esteemed of men, and they're popular, and they're in a stage where now there's a certain openness that they don't have, a certain humility somehow can't be achieved, certain recognition of elements can't be seen, and they disrespect things that they ought not disrespect. Now, I don't want to be a hypocrite and say that same thing couldn't have happened to me. If I had become haughty, if I had become popular, if I had made a success, if I had done something different with my life instead of what I did. So you might even say salvation is situational. If you were born into privilege, how can you know hardship by which the Lord can test and temper your soul, see? So what you got is, people need to be born into salvation to some extent, but no matter what, I think if they gain fame, wisdom, and what all else you got, something, not by wisdom, but I mean like fame, or great accomplishments, how can they humble themselves before God, you see? So what we see is that actually if it is a situation, then there's another reason where I feel doubt, like, talking about the gospel to people, like in the Great Commission, you're supposed to bring people into the fold, which I'm not arguing against, of course, but at the same time, you need to be somewhat honest with yourself and what you're doing. That if you're trying to tell somebody about salvation, but their situation is that you can see their pride. And I've totally come, to terms with this idea that people don't come to Christ without some kind of great humbling or great, challenge, like something that scares them, or like maybe they have a health risk, or something happens, or like they become very disillusioned all of a sudden. That's what happened to me. I became disillusioned, and I just wandered around, kind of just living in my car, just like going, what? I had the dreams of the, being wealthy, and I grew up in an upper middle class family. My parents did really well, and I had a lot of dreams and aspirations and stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's just like everything seemed wrong to me. Everything, that's what happened to me. Everything just seemed wrong. And still, 35 years later, seems wrong to me. So, but see, I think that, and it's different faiths, like people that, they were born into wealth, and they have talent, and they gained a following, or became popular, or they became wealthy, or something else, and now they're like, they're set, whatever. But they had their glory in the world. Whereas I think that the man that's saved really started out humble, is humble, and dies humble. Or if you're lucky enough, you might receive the new body in the world. Which that reminds me, I think that's probably one of the next main things I'm going to work on is talking about, like, break it down structurally without getting into, like, when this is going to happen, times it's 3.5 years before the tribulation, not that, but just a basic, because there's those two going to heaven. I talk about the one where you rise up in the air to be with Jesus in the golden mansions, which may actually be the same thing as when when you're in the world salvation and you stay in the world salvation, or at least that's my thinking about it. It looks like that there are some that stay in the earth, but in any case, whether they stay in the earth or whether they rise up in the tribulation, and then there's all this bad stuff that happens and they come back down, or do they stay throughout the whole tribulation period? That's my guess about it, is that they stay during that whole thing. But I think that, but it could be wrong. It could be that what happens is they all rise up, and then they all come down, because the scripture says that, and forevermore will they be with Jesus. But again, that could mean, as well, my take on it is that some go up to the heavenly abode above to be with the Jesus above, but there's also a Jesus in the earth, and it's kind of like taking place in a simultaneous timeline, whatever, not to confuse things, but time isn't what we thought it was. It's not linear. It's, there's all kinds of stuff about it we don't know. And so, but again, my theory is that they get born, the people that go up into the heaven get born as the children of the people who stayed in the earth, or at least that's some of them. Maybe some of them just come down for whatever reason, but we know that ultimately the abode of God is in the earth. But it would be interesting to really just have a scriptural lineup of the two goings to heaven, the rising up in the air to be with Jesus in the golden mansions, and the staying in the earth, the receiving the new body, and the soul that doesn't lie, the all glorious within. So you get the new body, the garment of praise from Isaiah, and Isaiah 61, I believe, and then then the Psalm 45, all glorious within, meaning that not only do you not lie, and you don't have personality flaws, but your mind, if it says all glorious within, think about that. It can't be that you have a forgetful mind, a mind that isn't able to process things as you're talking with people in sufficiently for complete I would call complete human competence. So that's an awesome thing to look forward to, right? I mean, especially if you're like me, you have attention deficit disorder, dyslexia, who knows what else, and this is not uncommon whatsoever, right? We all grew up with these certain medicines, right, that we found out, and now we don't have free speech to even talk about anymore. But I mean, on social media, you can say what you want on the public sidewalk. Who's going to listen to that, right? I think definitely if my definition of free speech back into this country would mean that you can say what you as an American feel like saying, even if it's rotten on social media. The only exceptions is where you are actually saying, okay, this is how you build the nuclear bomb. You see, it's very easy. You just get this stuff and you put it in, okay, something like that. But short of that, or like, really inciting people, all right, let's get up, do some crime. But I mean, even talk about forming a militia and forming a revolution, that should all be free speech, right? Because we have the right to form militia. So if you say, well, you know what, I have to tell you, I feel the government's corrupt. Let's all get together and form an army or whatever, and get and raise up arms and everything. That's free speech. But we don't have it. No, friends, we sure don't. You can't say all kinds of stuff. And if you're like me, did you know that I've long surpassed 100,000 subscribers? But will YouTube ever send me the 100,000 subscriber plaque? Do you think they'd ever send it to me? Even if they allowed the actual numbers to show how many subscribers there are, and they weren't continuously every single day unsubscribing people? Do you think they would actually send it to me? I know they didn't send it to Richie from Boston. And then a little bit later, for speaking his mind and what he feels is true, they froze his account. And then and then later on, he opened another account. He's got a new account now called Jailbreak Overlander. But no, friends, free speech, nope. And America's getting worse and worse, friends. Worse and worse. And Trump, it ain't getting any better, friends, if y'all were fooled by that. Oh no. You see who his cabinet picks are? You see that deal that he offered Russia? A deal that they couldn't accept? The soul that's about to receive the gift from God? They never were famous. They never were wealthy. They never did accomplish any great things. But they were humble, meek. You see? Because I don't think the ego could take it. I think maybe that's one reason why. I know this is very controversial, but I've told you this before. I think maybe that's one reason why the elect women are born as men. Because that's one aspect of it. Because I think there's other aspects to being female that are not conducive to the journey that you need to take of humility before you enter the kingdom. The people who enter the kingdom were humble, and I think maybe the even if you weren't like, because if you're fabulously, you're really good looking as a woman, you have so much status just from that one fact of your flesh being comely in this world. They aren't humble, friends. They aren't humble. And the soul needs to be prepared with that humility. Prepared by not having been anything. Imagine how exclusive that is. Just like the apostles said to Jesus, and he said, hardly a rich man can enter into heaven. And they said, Lord, then who can be saved? Because it was so mysterious. They couldn't figure out how. Because the worthy people among them tended to be people with money, and the slobs and the thieves and the scum tended to be the poor. And it still is that way today, friends. But the poor of today shall enter the kingdom, and the rich shall not. Same as it ever was. Same as it ever was.
I'm coming.